We are.
Do I really have to use the book?
It's up to you.
What do we do?
Yeah, then we're gonna open the next meeting here. And a time. State the time.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to open tonight's meeting of the Red Hook Planning Board at 7 p.m. on Thursday, December 11th. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Beth Pagano as vice chairman for 12/11/2014 for the planning board meeting. I'd like to ask for
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And comments were given to Lara?
Yes.
And Lara, you made the changes in accordance with those comments? Okay, so now I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of the meeting from November 13th, 2014. So I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so now the first item on the agenda is Marion Cole Abrams, a subdivision lot line alteration. As they have not yet received a zoning decision that was needed to finalize the public hearing, we will continue the hearing until next month's meeting, which is January 8th, 2015. Is there anyone here that came here intending to speak on that subdivision lot line alteration? No? Okay, so we can continue it and leave it on the agenda, or put it back on the agenda for next month. Okay, I make a motion that we continue the hearing on Marion Cole Abrams and the subdivision lot line alteration for 8 and 10 Eldridge Lane, continuing the public hearing to the next meeting of the planning board, January 8th, 2015. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Mr. Ken Carney and Anderson Commons. A resolution or appearing in front of us about an error in the original.
Yes. Hi, good evening. I'm obviously not Mr. Carney, but I'm Pete Sotero with Morris Associates. We're the engineers for the project.
Excuse me, hold
I'm
on
sorry.
just a minute.
Can you just
Do
stand
we
at the
want-
podium?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can do
Yeah,
that?
thank
Sure.
you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's my fault. Is this better?
Mr. Cartier he's got everything set up the way he needs it. so-
Okay, very good. Sorry about that. I haven't been here in a while. No, I'm Pete Sotero again, with the engineering firm of Morris Associates. I've been the engineer on the project since we first started it back in 2004. Mr. Carney was unable to attend the board meeting. I had planned, to be here anyways. And we are here to discuss what we believe is just a typographical error on the previous negative deck that was issued in 2005 and then reaffirmed Victoria, when?
2011.
2011. Now, I know Mr. Carney was here, I believe it was in August, to get an extension on his subdivision approval. And I believe at that time, because of many of the new board members, that he gave the board a brief overview. So I wasn't going to get into that, but if anybody had any specific questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I do have a map here, but I believe that we're more here to just discuss the issue that the DEC raised as part of their review of the various DEC permits for the project. But I guess first, before we talk about that, is there anything that you'd like me to just go over as part of the overall subdivision project, or are you relatively comfortable with the project? Again,
How about just a quick summary of the project, since none of us that's here now
Right, I haven't
has
met any
been
of you.
here.
Should I remain here and just kind of do it from here, or?
Yeah, that's fine, yes.
Okay. All right, well, the project consists of 53 units. 44 of those in various single-family dwellings and townhomes are centered in what we call the common area. Anderson Commons is located about access point on 5th Street. It'll have a through road that will connect to Glen Ridge Road over here. So we've got a through road. Water supply will be via the village. So we'll have a water line that will make a complete loop. Sewer systems will be on-site community septic systems. We've got 4 different areas here. And again, it's 52 residential units, and then there's one mixed-use lot that's out along 5th Street that has a commercial component to it with a 2-bedroom apartment over top. So I believe, as Mr. Carney probably explained, we had gone through the approval process, and we received, from both the village and the town, we received conditional final approvals in 2006. Obviously, then we had the economic issues. The previous owner of the property was not able to continue with the project, and hence Mr. Carney purchased the project, I believe, in 2010. So we've been going back through the process. The previous site plan approval from the village does not lapse. The subdivision approval from the village was already granted. And Mr. Carney's come back for extensions. We're currently, all the approvals had expired in the town. So we've gone back before the town, we received conditional preliminary. We submitted several months ago for our final approval, and we're working through that process now. We also had, there's a tremendous amount of legal documents that are part of this project. There's a lot of cross easements for water and sewer, access easements, intermunicipal agreements between the village and the town. So those legal agreements are being worked on now by Mr. Carney's attorney, your village attorney, and also the town attorney. We had a meeting of all the attorneys a couple weeks ago down in our office. So, you know, we're working through all those various documents. So we're proceeding along fairly well with the town. Hopefully by the middle of 2015, we should have everything finished. And if all goes well, the plan is to potentially start construction sometime in 2016. So we've been also working with the other agencies that issue approval, such as the DEC. And as they were going through the permitting process, they had noticed that on the previous negative deck, for whatever reason, typographical error, somebody just didn't pick it up. That had identified the number of residential lots as, the number of total lots as 51. The actual number is 53. So after some conversations with the DEC and Victoria's office, it was agreed that the best course of action would be to come back to the village planning board and hopefully have that correction made. The project in no way has changed. It's the same project now as it was when we first started in 2004. It's the same project that we had received all of our approvals on in 2006. We haven't changed, you know, anything. So it was just an error that happened. Not exactly sure how it happened, but it happened. So you know, the DEC rightfully so, during their permitting process, raised the issue, and hopefully we're here, tonight to make that, correction, so.
We've actually made, since we're correcting this, sometime subsequent to the project first being proposed, it was reduced in size. The total project acreage was reduced in size, and so this new corrected document also reflects the fact that the prior owner took out 8 acres and
Oh, that's
used that for
correct.
himself.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So instead of leaving the old numbers in, I took the opportunity to update the numbers, which changed some of the percentages, but
That was my next question.
Just the
Well, that's one of
acreage,
my
that's correct, thank you for,
Okay.
the project, it's still the same project. It's just the 8 acres that were originally proposed to be part of it are no longer, so the numbers did change.
Did those 8 acres have any of the 53 dwelling units on them?
no,
Okay, so the 53 dwelling units are on the same acreage that they always were on?
Yes.
None of the lot sizes has changed?
no,
Okay.
no.
And the original plans, when they were presented, had
Absolutely,
52 buildings and 53 dwelling units on it?
that's correct.
Okay.
Right, and I had asked the applicant to confirm that all the studies were based on, because the problem here is that the maps all showed the 52 lots, but some of the documents said 51. So I asked the applicant to confirm that all the studies were based on the 53 dwelling units, and when I spoke with Andy this
Andy.
morning, he said he was going through them.
Yes, and they were, because, once again, the project itself, this project here is still the same project. So all of the previous traffic studies, environmental studies, not that has any bearing on the number of lots, but all the previous studies were based on this plan here that you see. So, I don't, and that, the 8 acres, I forgot about that, and I don't remember where that was on the plan. I think it was somewheres up in here in the back. It didn't have anything to do with down in here. I believe it was somewheres up in here.
Okay,
So-
well, because my only, question is that that everything, the number of lots is unchanged from the plans that were originally presented to the board when it was approved, that the locations of the lots are exactly the same. It always showed 53 on 52 lots, that they're all in the same place they were, that the lot sizes are all the same, and it just got printed as 51. And if that's the
correct.
case, then I think that we can ask the board to approve the change. So,
Yes, that is, everything, that you said is, the same. It has not changed. It's the same project. Like I said, for whatever reason, I don't know why it got to be 51 in some of the documents. It was an oversight, somehow.
okay. Dave? did you
I just
have
had some
any
quick questions of interest.
Sure.
All 53 units are on village water,
Yes.
and is there a sewer plant for part of the?
No, it's not going to be a sewer plant. There'll be individuals. There's 4 different large subsurface
Large
septic
septic
systems.
Okay.
Right, and we've gone through the health department. The health department is all set to reapprove the plans. They're just waiting for the DEC to go first, because the DEC has to issue their approval first
Right.
before the health department can write their formal
Right.
letter. But we've got, documentation from the health department that says, once the DEC acts, we will give you your
Right.
approval.
One last question.
Sure.
When you put the road into the other connecting road on the south side, was there any issue with the people that live there with connecting those 2 roads?
John?
With this existing development here, was there any issue with the road in that connects the 2 sides of the village and town there?
When we had our public hearing, there were some, concerns, just because obviously, most people, myself included, if you live in like a neighborhood, you'd rather not see another road
Right.
come in that could, potentially have more traffic that would come to it. But, I mean, it was always planned like this. It's a better way of distributing, the traffic. And honestly, the traffic study had showed, and it just makes common sense that a majority, these folks in here are gonna come out, to Fifth Street and go either towards, the village or out to 199 and go where they're gonna go, that, the seven more traditional single-family lots over here, most likely they're gonna go out that way. Now that's not to say you're not gonna get folks from in here going out that way, and I forget what the traffic distribution was, but I think if I had to make a guess, I would probably say 70% to 75% of the traffic would end up coming out here, to Fifth Street.
Ray, do you have any
No,
questions? Don, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Do we feel comfortable? You feel comfortable taking a vote? Okay.
Okay, so you have a resolution before you entitled Resolution to Correct Error in Prior Secret Determination of Non-Significance. If you've all read the resolution, you can just read the final now therefore be it resolved clause and make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay. Dave, did you get a chance?
Look at it now.
Okay. Right.
Certainly.
Okay.
Okay.
Dave, read it.
Want me to read it?
No, I asked you if you read it yet. He said reading it now. He read it already.
I've read it,
Okay.
yeah.
Don, did you have any questions on the resolution?
No. It's okay.
Okay. So, do I read the top or just the
Now therefore.
resolution?
Yeah,
And then go to the
therefore.
now therefore? Yeah, okay. So, resolution to correct an error in prior seeker determination of non-significance regarding the Anderson Commons Development Subdivision reapplication. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby corrects its reaffirmed negative declaration adopted on November 16th, 2011, as shown on the attached notice of determination of non-significance, and directs the secretary to the planning board to file the attached notice of determination of non-significance in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617.12. I move we accept the resolution. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the board accepted the resolution to change the neg deck on December 11th, 2014. You're good?
Okay, thank you very,
Thank you very
very much.
much.
I appreciate it. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You
you.
too.
See you tomorrow.
We ready to move to the next item?
Thank you. Have a good night. See you.
Do we have a representative of Stewart's here?
That'd be me.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. My name is Jeremy Lawless on behalf of Stewart Shops. I'm here just to talk a little bit about our new signage that we have on the shop. We are doing a new signage across the board through all of our shops. It's been something that we've been slowly kind of rolling out, and in this case, our sign company that we've kind of subcontracted on this kind of got ahead of us before us and got to this shop and actually changed it out before we actually applied in this case. So what I'm here to do is, before you and the board, just to approve our new sign, which square footage wise meets the recommendations. Our old sign was 21 square feet. The new sign actually is a decrease in size. It drops down to 17 square feet as far as space that it's taking up. Same location on the shop, frontage in that case. Not illuminated either, no lights to it as well. So kind of fitting what was asked of us in the past, just new sign logo in that case. So that's all for me. I'm pretty short in this one.
I do have a question.
Of course.
How did you calculate the area of the sign?
Well, we should have a breakdown on our square footage. I guess it would be the combination of our what we kind of term as our swoosh, if you will, on that one, along with the Stewart Shops one. I believe in the square footage piece, it would have been just the combination of space taken up by the burgundy swoosh piece that you may see in that piece, and the actual words. Combination of those two would be our total signage square footage, I believe, in that case.
Well, I just wanted to point out that
Yeah.
according to the zoning code of the Village of Red Hook, the rules for measuring signs is as follows. The area of a sign consisting of insignia or other device shall be calculated as the smallest polygon or circle possible of enclosing the insignia, which means that in this case, if you took a rectangle around your sign, you would take the length and width, and that would be the way of calculating or measuring the sign. And if you do that, I actually get 27.17 square feet, which means that either you have to alter your length and reduce it by 9.5 inches, or you have to reduce the height by 5.6 inches.
Understood. So you're taking the 6 foot 9.5 inches multiplied by the 4. Am I correct?
That's
in that?
correct.
Yeah, that's according to this code.
Understood. Right. So I guess our interpretation of that was of how our square footage of the 17 would be the space taken up in that. But I do see what you're saying as far as.
Within that rectangle, that's the space you're taking up. But if you're actually measuring it, it would be exceeding the 24 square feet.
Got you by that 9.5 inches or the 4 foot piece of things. Understood. And your maximum is 24, correct?
Correct.
Is that what it states in there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. These are signages. This is our smallest version of this style sign for our new signage that we do have. That's kind of pre-manufactured in this case here. So in order to do so, I guess we would have to have kind of a custom, piece for this one to happen. But
Or I guess you could eliminate the swish.
right,
Or you could apply
That's
for
a major
variance.
impact there.
apply for variance in that case, right? Yeah, that would probably be the route we would like to go, is to apply for a variance in that case, if that
So they
were
have-
an option for us.
So they need to appear before the ZBA?
They would have to apply and go before the ZBA.
And this sign's installed in the Village of Red Oak store?
I'm sorry about
This
that?
sign's already installed in the.
That is
Village?
correct. Yeah. At
Is that the first one you installed of all your stores?
No.
No.
It's happened in other towns. where
No,
they
it's
install
happened,
it
it's
without
kind of,
variance.
there's no real rhyme or reason necessarily to the rollout on things. It's kind of just happens to be on this company that kind of helps us out of when their availability is and when they kind of subcontract things out. And they try to keep in touch with us on those things, but sometimes they kind of get ahead of our approvals in that case here, and that kind of happened in this circumstance.
What's
Yeah.
the reason for the change?
It's actually a branding change just for across the company. All stores are doing this, actually. I mean, it's just kind of a company change as far as,
Become more hip, or
you could say that. We're trying to be as hip as we possibly can in that case. Yeah.
Swoosh.
Yeah, I mean, it was a branding choice on their part just to try to bring out, kind of what our logos kind of look like inside the shop to kind of match on the exterior as well. Was the choice behind it. Yeah.
So I think I think at this point, if you want to use the sign that you have hanging now,
Yeah.
you're going to need to go to the ZBA
For the variance.
for a variance.
Mhm.
And their next meeting is January 22nd, 2015.
Okay.
And Laura, can this package just go to the ZBA or,
No, they have to,
okay, so
Resubmit.
there's another, right, so see Lara
Sure.
and she'll give you
Okay.
what you have to put together for the ZBA.
Okay.
And then once you have the ZBA approval, then you come back to us, is that right?
yeah.
Go through.
And then
Mhm.
we can approve it with your ZBA approval.
Understood.
And I believe there was a fine last time someone put a sign up before approval, wasn't it?
Well, that's up to the building department.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time on that.
Okay, thank you
Understand.
very much.
Yeah. Laura, can I get that from you? Or I can give you my contact information too if you want.
yeah, do you have a card?
I don't have that in my bag right now, but I'll write it down for you.
I'll give you a call and then let you know.
That sounds good.
Because we have to have everything as well, 15 days prior to the meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Victoria, do I need to make a motion to table it?
You're not in a public hearing.
You're not, just. Okay, so I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, happy holidays.
Thank you too.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is TMC Northeast 2 and 7568 North Broadway, the CVS site plan. I'd like to make a motion that we reopen the public hearing.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The public hearing on CVS has now been reopened. Mr. Miranda, do you have a new present? Oh, what?
Can you just, acknowledge?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Say
So
the date.
subsequent to the last month's meeting of the planning board and the beginning of the public hearing, we received a written letter from Philip H. Marsh of 33 Linden Avenue, Red Hook, New York. And so I just wanted to make a note that we have received that letter of comment from Mr. Marsh, and it is now part of the public record of the hearing.
Are you going to read it to the public?
You're not required to, but you can if you want.
Pretty long.
To the Red Hook Mayor and the Village Zoning Board, okay, but I assume they mean the Planning Board, from Philip H. Marsh of 33 Linden Avenue, Red Hook, New York. When I moved to Red Hook in 1968, the village had two food stores, A&P located in the present CVS building, and the Grand Union located in the vacant IGA building. In 1968, Red Hook was a growing community with a strong presence of IBM employees who worked in IBM Kingston. Times have definitely changed. IBM has closed their Kingston plant, the Hannaford Food Store provides our food requirements, and CVS opened a pharmacy and general store in the old A&P building. The closing of IBM Kingston had a negative economic impact on both Kingston and Red Hook. To help Red Hook grow, we need new businesses to attract customers from both Red Hook and Dutchess County residents. I read the article in the November 28th Chronicle newspaper that the village zoning board did not approve the resolution of CVS to the vacant IGA property. I was surprised that after more than 3 years, CVS has yet to receive the zoning board's approval for the construction of a new CVS building on the IGA property. In my casual conversations with Red Hook residents, everyone, to the person, were supportive of CVS relocating to the IGA property. I suspect that the village board members, when talking with Red Hook residents, have discovered the same positive support for the new CVS. Since coming to Red Hook, CVS has become a convenient general store for myself and many Red Hook residents. Our CVS Red Hook has saved me trips to both Hannaford and Kingston to purchase needed items. I have had no negative experiences with CVS and truthfully appreciate that they opened the Red Hook store. To have CVS build a bigger, more modern store in the village of Red Hook can only have a strong positive effect upon Red Hook and may even encourage some people to purchase houses in our town. Please, to help improve the village of Red Hook, it is time for the zoning board to approve CVS's site plan. Signed, Philip H. Marsh. Okay. Mr. Miranda.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Mirando. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader, and I'm here on behalf of TMC and CVS. We won't go through a full presentation because we did that at the last hearing, so we will kind of cut to the chase a little bit. But just by way of reminder, we are seeking a site plan and special use permit approval from this board and an associated demolition permit to redevelop the property formerly known as the IGA site. Tonight I am joined by Shannon Rutherford, a professional engineer with VHB, as well as John Canning, another professional engineer from VHB. As a result of the comments we received at the public hearing, the first night of the public hearing, as well as comment memos we received in November from both the planning consultant for the board as well as the engineering consultant for the board, we made some modifications to the plans to address those comments. They're generally minor in nature when you're talking about the whole scope of the project, but they are very important nonetheless and responsive to what we heard here. We did file a written submission this week to the board providing those revised plans, and there'll be some additional presentation materials we show here tonight. But again, we do believe that what we presented in our first public hearing night is fairly summarized in what we just provided here this evening and yesterday. I'm going to hand it off to John and Shannon to go through the details of the plan and talk about some of the developments since the last meeting. But I will say that tonight our request to the board is to move forward with seeker and adopt a negative declaration as part of this process. We do believe that there's substantial information and sufficient information in the record to demonstrate that there are no adverse environmental impacts from this project. We do believe that the seeker process should move forward this evening in accordance with those regulations that guide that statute, and that we should move forward as early as possible in the process. I think everybody knows we've been here for a while, so we'd like to get that going tonight. I will hand it off to John and Shannon now to go through some of the details of the project.
Good evening, I'm Shannon Rutherford with VHB, the project manager for the proposed CVS in Red Hook. As Anthony mentioned, we're going to cut to the chase. I am going to explain to you some of the changes to the plan, and as Anthony mentioned, these are adaptations that were made to be consistent with the discussions we had last month and some of the requests that were provided in the comment letters. The first element has to do with the building itself. And the building was discussed originally. It had a chamfer quarter entrance out to Route 9, and the discussion was that it wasn't necessarily as prominent as we would like it, as the board would like it to be with respect to its position to Route 9. So we worked with CVS, the architect worked with CVS, and they were agreeable to allowing us to square off the entrance. So the entrance, and I'm going to play engineer and architect for you this evening, so I'll discuss the engineering elements, John will discuss traffic, and then I'll come back and we can walk through the architecture, but you'll see that the architecture reflects the footprint, and the entrance will be squared off to Route 9. We did leave the chamfer entrance into the parking lot, since we have parking both at the side and directly to the eastern side of the property, and it provides just kind of a balanced access point with respect to the parking lot itself. One of the items that have been noted of concern is the number of parking spaces on this south bank of parking along the southern property line. We did remove 2 parking spaces so that the edge of parking aligned with the north bank and pulled that curb line in, so that it help alleviate the concern that somebody backing out of that space would have a conflict with somebody entering the site, and give everyone more time for appropriate decision making. So we made adjustments to the site plan to make that accommodation and adjusted the parking accordingly. The dumpster and compactor area has been altered a little bit. I do have the plan with me from last month. If at any point we want to do a compare and contrast, I'm happy to do that. I can bring that other board out. But I will walk you through what we did. You'll recall the dumpster and vertical compactor had been located so the rear of them was parallel to the north property line. We shifted them to the east and angled them. They are angled so that we can get they can be serviced. They'll be serviced by a front end garbage truck with the lifts to empty both the compactor and the dumpster. But what that does is opens up this northeast corner, allows a little more breathing room both for delivery vehicles and for the drive-through access on the north side of the property. There had been discussion on sliding the loading zone down then accordingly. Unfortunately, because of the property tapers, as we slide that down, and of course at the corner there's some bollards, there's a bollard at the corner to protect the corner of the building. The clear distance that we're left with if we slide this loading zone down as you come around the corner is less than 12 feet between the edge of the loading zone and the corner of the building if we were to slide it down. In this particular case, leaving it as is, there's a 14.5-foot clear distance from the building to the edge of the loading zone. So we actually end up with a little more breathing room to accommodate the drive-through and any bypass vehicles, but still felt that this change here was important just to open that area up and offer a better line of sight for vehicles coming around the corner, and felt that hopefully the board would feel that that was a reasonable compromise. The other thing it does too is it left the loading hidden behind the building as opposed to being out. As you come around and you're looking right at the loading, it left it concealed by the building, which we felt was an important element as well. Another item with respect to this, as part of the submission and in support of the testimony that I gave at last month, had to do with the drive-through queue. And that's attached, there's a memo that's attached to the response to the engineering comments. And it documents a number of surveys that VHB has done through the course of time with respect to a typical vehicle queue that we would see for a drive-through during the peak hour. And I believe it documents what I had referenced, in that a 3 to 4 vehicle queue is the maximum that we would normally see in the peak hour. And in doing so, obviously it's clearly contained within the rear of the building and would allow for bypass around the queue should a vehicle want to exit the site. The queue does extend. If we have 4 vehicles, it would be within that loading zone. But again, those are isolated moments in time. There is sufficient area to have a clear line of sight, and someone can always choose to park in the parking lot as opposed to traversing around the site and enter the store through this entrance though. The crosswalk, one of the comments I believe the planner had referenced, she wanted crosswalks internal to the site. We typically, obviously, our ADA spaces are located at the entrance to provide easy and convenient access. And we've already discussed in detail our pedestrian connectivity. We've added in this crosswalk at this location to bring the parking area and draw them in to this area as the main crossing point of the entrance. I'll be honest, I'm hesitant to add in a lot of other crosswalks as it can start to become confusing. I think too for the drivers as well. But I'm certainly open to discussing if somebody sees something specific that they feel one more crosswalk could be added. That's certainly open for discussion. But this is how we have accommodated it to date, and did address the comment by providing a direct access here to the front entrance. The eastern portion of the parking area that's adjacent to the detention basin at the rear has been realigned to better provide for future connection. This has been designed with a reserved area for the potential future interconnection to the adjacent property to the north. And if you did a side-by-side comparison, you will note that we've kicked this portion of the driveway out to the east slightly to better align up to the north, should that future connection need to be made. And CVS is agreeable to that, and I believe the plans have the same note that we had discussed at the last meeting, and that there's accommodation be left for that future connection. In doing so, some of this parking island was reconfigured. These spaces were reduced and shifted when we moved the dumpster in. When you take this shuffling, this shift, this elongation, there's a net reduction of 1 parking space overall. For the parking. You knew we were going to do that, right? You knew we were going to do that. So there's a net reduction of 1 parking space. So we're down to 75 for the property. We did take a look with the reconfiguration of that driveway on the eastern edge and providing for potential future access. We took another look at that detention basin and agree at this point a fence probably is a good idea as we're starting to reduce that buffer that's in front of it. So we've shown a fence here. There's a gate for maintenance purposes. It'll be a swing gate. It'll be a chain link fence with a swing gate. And I think one of the comments too suggested a sign be placed on it. So we've suggested wording for a sign that can be placed on the gate and fence. With respect to parking, one of the questions that had come up had to do with the quantity of trees. The Greenway guide suggests, I think 1 tree for every 6 to 10 parking spaces. So if we have 75 spaces, it's 8 to 12 trees, either in or immediately adjacent to the parking area. My staff counted, and when we submitted the letter, they've got 22. I just counted, I've got 17. In either case, we're certainly above the 8 to 12. We have these that are immediately adjacent to the parking field, these internal, these trees here immediately adjacent, and then we have these 3 trees that I would consider immediately adjacent, as opposed to these I consider more as a buffer. So, but certainly there's a notable increase in the landscaping on the site, and I believe we meet the letter of that recommendation and certainly are meeting the intent of it. So that pretty much summarizes the details of the site plan elements that were updated to accommodate and reflect the discussions of last month. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John to discuss the traffic, and then I'll come back and chat about the architectural elevations.
Excuse me, one question.
Of course.
The bike rack?
Oh, yes.
Where's the bike rack?
There's 2 bike racks. There's a bike rack located in this vicinity, and there's a bike rack located here. And I'll be honest, we may look at rotating this with the door being chamfered. The bike rack location in respect to the door was ideal. We just may scoot it around and change a bike rack and a tree. But there is one on the north side and one on the south side. I believe each accommodates somewhere between 7 to 9 bicycles. I can't remember that. There's a specific ratio based on the number of parking spaces and the number of bike rack slots. So that will still remain. There'll be one on the north and one on the south. It just may slide a little bit so we don't have a conflict at that front door.
Thank you.
All right, I have some questions.
Sure.
While you're on it.
Okay.
I like the fact that you moved the dumpsters over, it looks a lot better.
Okay, great.
And I like that the angle sort of matches the other chamfer of the back door, so that's cool. I like the fact you put the fence around the detention basin,
Okay.
partially because of litter. I don't want to see it fill up with litter. I think the fence will stop some litter, and they can clean up the litter against the fence. The middle set of islands, the stick.
This here?
Yeah, and the 2 in the middle there, the 2 that stick out. Maybe you can move them over to the east, so they have matching numbers of spaces on either side.
They're positioned, if you take a look at the
Based on
utility
septic or
plan,
something?
it's the septic. It's septic tanks are, and we intend to
Okay.
reuse the existing septic
Okay.
system. That's also why this island doesn't have trees and has just shrubs. There's trees and trees here
All right.
because of the proximity to the
All
septic.
right, I hate to
tank.
eliminate trees, but if you're gonna save that space for a possible road to connect to the back property, maybe you should not even put the tree in.
But maybe we'll move it. We'll keep it
You'll
in and
move
we'll move
it?
it.
You'll move it, you promise to move it?
Yeah.
Put it and then be cut down.
No, I meant move it before we put it in.
Okay.
I meant. I'll move it now when on the final plan.
Good.
Yeah, over here. There we go. I'll move it now before we install it.
All right. Good plan.
Okay. Oh, one other thing I did want to point out, we have altered, because we talked extensively at other times about sight lines, The landscaping, these trees here are, and what's reflected here, are low-lying shrubs, and I think there's some ornamental grasses in and around here. The evergreens and arborvitae, we've pushed back. This is actually the radio station, and the Elmendorf no, this is the radio station, this is the Elmendorf. So the radio station, we've started the trees at where the radio station is.
Right.
So we've left everything, the low-lying elements at the front. So there's still some interest from a landscape standpoint, but not providing a vertical barrier.
One more thing.
Sure.
The easement area, we were talking about possibly putting some sort of a grassy area there instead, right?
That's left open. CVS is agreeable to doing whatever is going to be satisfactory to the village.
I don't think it makes sense to leave the pavement there that was original.
Well, I can tell you right now, at the plan, assuming this was paved, we have increased the landscape area now by just over 9,000 square feet. There's been a lot of things moving with this as we've made the adjustments here and made the adjustments here. So this area is 14 feet wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 properties at roughly 50 feet width, so it's 250 feet, and I did the calculation at the office, it's about 3,500 square feet of additional landscaping that would go in. Obviously, because the intent is to use it as an access way, it would simply be lawn. We wouldn't be putting a bunch of trees in it, would defeat the purpose. But nonetheless would be pervious. So that is certainly an option. It's our preference. I think that makes the most sense. But nonetheless, we're agreeable to doing either option.
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I think it doesn't make any sense to leave it paved.
That's fine.
Will we be able to get copies of the new site plan exhibit?
Of this colored one?
Right.
I certainly
Because
can.
I don't think we have anything in our package.
No, the colored one, but no, I can certainly send them. I don't have 11 by 17s with me this evening. We haven't been using them a lot. I bring them and I bring them home. So forget it, I don't need them tonight. So, but everything that's here.
I know there's a lot of new things tonight, and so it would be good to continue the discussion to have.
Everything that's shown here is on the plans that are in black and white that were submitted. There's nothing new on this board that's different than what is on the plans that were submitted this week.
A big set of
You're
plans.
just looking for the colors.
Right, because it's difficult to, we've got several pieces that have the traffic patterns on them, and we have the big plans.
Right. And all this is a color version of the big plans. I'm happy to send it, but just so you understand, there isn't something different or new than what was
Understood.
just submitted. I just wanted to clarify that. I'm happy to send it in. I can send it electronically. It's a PDF if we email it in. Is that helpful? And then we can certainly forward hard copies.
Sure.
Okay. We're set for now?
Well, one last thing.
Oh, sure.
Real quick. I don't want you to block your sign in the front with one of those big trees. They will grow, right in front of the building.
here.
Wherever the sign is,
These are ornamentals. The intent is, it's just the symbology that's used.
I just don't
They're,
want it to be overgrown at some point in the future where your sign is hidden.
right, I think these are the eastern red buds. There's 3 of them. I'm pretty sure they're the eastern red buds. So we'll coordinate with the architect. If we need to slide them around a bit, then we may, but.
Ray, do you have anything?
No, I guess the only question I had was, and maybe it's going to be addressed, is just the exit on the north entrance is narrowed so that only one car can exit at a time. Is that correct?
Correct. That was specifically
We're gonna go
requested
to
from the
that now.
DOT
Yeah.
a few months ago.
Yeah, I
As
think
part of our meeting.
John's gonna
And
talk
John will
to that.
address,
Yeah.
specifically kind of step through the latest with respect to traffic.
Don, do you have any questions at this point?
No, I'm happy about the bike rack.
Okay.
There's car chargers too. So there's 2 space for a car charging station.
Thank you, Shannon.
Not now, there will be.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is John Canning, a professional engineer licensed to practice in the state of New York with VHB. And I have 28 years of traffic engineering and transportation planning experience. I was responsible for preparing the traffic impact study for the subject application.
Could you turn up the volume?
I'll talk a little louder, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I was happy to be here last month, and we listened carefully to your comments and to your consultants' comments. And I think for the most part we have addressed all of your comments as best we can. Specifically, we've eliminated the need for trucks to back into the parking lot by prohibiting and directing the larger trucks which can't make a right turn out to make a left turn out. We've also moved the dumpsters so that they don't present an obstacle to trucks turning the corner. As Shannon mentioned, we moved the 2 parking spaces that were closest to Route 9 so that there won't be any potential conflicts at that location. We've looked at the accident records as far back as DOT has the data readily available, which is 2006, and have found no problems at the site's former driveway on Route 9. The building is smaller and will generate considerably less traffic than the former IGA in its heyday. And the Route 9 driveway will be consolidated and located directly across from Old Post Road, not partially on either side as it is now. And also, as Shannon indicated, we've reduced the width of the driveway to, I believe it's 15 feet at this location, so that only one vehicle can exit at a time and you can't have people competing to get out. We've also sought counsel from the DOT Traffic and Safety Unit, who have opined more than once, I believe, that the access we have proposed will serve the best interests of the travelling public. The process, I believe, with this board and the public has led to significant improvements to the site development, so I would like to thank you and the public for that. And for these reasons, I think that this board should consider moving this process along. That's pretty much it, unless you have any questions.
Mr. Canning, if you don't mind, in the package that we were presented yesterday, there are several truck turning movement plans.
Yep.
And
They were the old plans.
Take me through, okay.
They were the old plans that had trucks backing up in the parking lot. That's correct, Shannon, right?
But they're still part of the new submission, that's why I'm confused.
No, they are, and what we did is, I believe, they reflect the new building and the full site plan. So the truck templates you have are the same ones we discussed last month, with the benefit of the new site plan beneath it. And so it's the full complement of the truck turn templates. And what we're agreeing to and what has been discussed is that this configuration for the large CVS delivery truck, which is TT3, TT3.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. No, I understand.
Okay.
What it amounted to was, and it was discussed in detail in one of the responses to the CT mail comments, walked you through all the truck turn, and I realized short time to absorb.
I'm visual.
I understand, short time to absorb it. So the TT1 series was our original proposal.
Okay.
The TT2 series, I believe, was taking a look at perhaps narrowing this driveway and visually showing you why that does not work. And the TT3 is a hybrid of the two.
Do you have a note on the plans now saying that the left turns only? Or is that something that you're going to add to the plans?
We can. We hadn't. I mean, from a practical standpoint, the truck can't functionally turn and head north without creating a lot of angst for itself. But we can put a sign up that would indicate, trucks only, turn left, or left turn only for trucks.
Oh, I wasn't actually saying physical sign. I was trying, is there a note on the site plan?
We will put a note on the site plan that
Limiting
says the operator is to require tractor trailers to exit the site to the south on Route 9.
Sure. Yes, thank you. Got it.
Okay, so TT3 has the large truck
Right.
entering from the
Yes.
south, going around and exiting from the south, which is
And
what you
exiting
have
to the
there.
south. Right, so
Okay.
it's making a right turn in off of Route 9, circulating through the site and making the left turn out.
Okay.
You got it.
TT3A
Yes.
has the truck making the left turn to enter, so coming from the north and coming in and parking,
Correct.
And no out.
and
Well,
no out.
all it's just.
It goes out the same way.
It would go out the same way. The point is showing you the left turn in, right? So TT3 shows you the right turn in and left out.
Okay, but I thought,
3A shows you the left turn in. So it's simply demonstrating, because it can only make the left turn out. It can't go right without, we've discussed the fact that it would go over curbs or impede on the traffic. We didn't put them on the same one, because if we have both the left and right turn coming in, then they start to overlap and it blurs what you're looking at.
but I guess, didn't Mr. Canning just say that we'd eliminated the need for the truck to back up?
We have.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
What is TT3B then?
3B is, we're agreeing that we will not do that. Because the only way,
This is what came yesterday, so this is your new submission, so that's why I'm confused.
well, we're agreeing that we won't, we understand the board is not in favor of this. Again, all it was doing is that the only way that truck could turn to go north is to do this. It couldn't do it
Okay.
from this driveway, it couldn't do it from that driveway.
Okay,
So we're
so the
not-
large trucks are going, whichever way they come in, they will exit and go south.
They will exit the
Correct,
north
yes.
driveway and go south. Yes.
I just wanted to,
Oh, yes.
I was
Crystal
trying
clear.
to be
You're
clear with
absolutely-
that, that's all.
We apologize for the confusion.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it, it's just, I'm, trying to look at all these things in a short period of time.
There's a lot of documents, yes.
Ask the question.
When they're ready to do that, sure.
Hold on. Does Don, did you have any comment on the traffic?
No, I'm satisfied with that. IGA had trucks coming in, delivering groceries. And I don't think we ever had any problems with that either.
Ray, any other
No.
questions on
It was clear
this?
to me.
Okay. All right, sorry.
Shannon, you want to do the architecture?
Sure,
Dave?
yeah, if we're ready for
Yeah, so
architecture.
all deliveries will come from the south and then return to the south?
No.
That's what-
Deliveries,
Deliveries come from north
I'll
or
do
south?
a little animation,
Yeah.
just because I always wanted to go to Hollywood. Deliveries will come from the south, right? And they'll come in, and they'll stop, and they can leave, and they will be required to leave to the south.
Right.
If they come from the north,
Entrance.
they'll come in,
And they-
they'll drop off, and then when they leave, that's where they are,
And go
go
to
to the south.
Okay.
So they'll come from the north and from the south, they pull in,
Alright.
and they leave to the south. Now, that's the larger trucks at CVS, it's about once a week. You'll have Frito-Lays and soda and various other trucks who come in panel trucks. They can make the right turn out by staying on the northbound lane, and they can make the left turn out.
Right.
So there's no need for them to be prohibited.
So your sign will say something to the effect that an 18-wheeler should not take a right then?
Well, I believe that it's a CVS truck with CVS drivers, right?
So we can handle it operationally.
So it'll be
with
Operationally,
an
okay.
employment requirement. Because otherwise, we can put a sign up, but it gets
It can
confusing.
get confusing, right?
Yeah.
So the only 18-wheeler trucks will be CVS's own trucks?
That's what I'd be led to
Right, all
believe.
the other trucks are the large box trucks.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
If there's,
We just got a couple of architectural.
yeah, and then we'll open it up, okay.
You got it there? Then-
Oh, yes, yeah, that's right here. Thank you, John. Okay, I have notes from our architect. This one was, we worked hard on a lot of elements for this project. The the double entrance being one, squaring it off a third or a second, and then the colors and what we have here this evening is a third. This is literally hot off the press, was printed at 2 p.m. because that's when it came in from the architect, when they got the CVS approval. So it's not in your packet because it literally was just approved. So the changes that are here, and I have the one from last month is underneath, so again, we can do a compare and contrast if we would like. There's the addition of sloped roofs on the majority of the facades. Sloped roof lines were added. And even at this corner as it wraps and would be visible. Obviously, the majority of this one that's facing the building to the north, there is not a sloped roof line. So we've got the full south, the east elevation, and our Route 9 elevation, uniform sloped roof lines. The squared off entrance facing the street we talked about, and I'm happy to I can bring this closer if you'd like at some point. But the squared off roof and still has a the architectural interest with respect to columns and creating a prominent entrance and a roof line over the entrance itself. We added mulligans to the windows, and you can see those here. They're more prevalent here on the south facade, easier to see, but they are in the other windows as well. And the color was modified to more of an earth tone as opposed to the blue-gray that was not met very favorably last month. So they took a look at the coloring and like I said, they're more earth tones. So that's what we, those are the changes from since last month to accommodate the discussions that we had. We also, if you'll indulge me, want to take a minute just to point out there's a number of these elements that are in keeping with the pattern book. And I think if you'll indulge me, I'd like to just run through them so we can be on the same page there, because I know that's important. There's been a lot of discussion about it, and certainly from where we've started to where we are now, I think it's important to point that out. So and if you also will excuse me, because I'm going to read these, because I don't have all the terminology at the tip of my fingers, as I do with the engineering elements. But with respect to the size of the building exposed to the public way, it should have articulated base course and cornice. The brick base comes up to the sill level at the first story, and the cornice caps the top of the building. There's a white trim board below the sloped roof line. And it is, again, I can bring that up. You can see there is a white cornice line there and white eaves cornice along the flat portion of the north elevation. So there is a white trim and a bottom and a top trim element. The middle section of the building, this is also another pattern book element, indicates that the middle section of the building may be horizontally divided, the floor, lintel, or sill levels with a belt or string course. The portion of the building is divided up with middle sections of the building by using two coordinated hardy board colors, the cobblestone and the Monterey taupe. So this section, we've got two different colors that have been introduced in that middle section. And it's accented with the white trim, as I previously mentioned. Another element from the pattern book is long, unbroken roof, windowless walls, or service areas visible to the public are discouraged. Well, as we've worked at great lengths to make sure the service areas of the building are to the north and it's screened currently by the building that's there, but even in the future, should that building come down, there's provisions for landscaping and the retaining wall is there as well. With respect to the building itself and creating broken up the walls and the windows, we've created a completely custom layout for the building, as we've talked with the double entry to the store, the relocation of the loading area so that it is not in its prototypical location, which would be seen on the south elevation technically here as we're coming right in off a driveway. We moved it to the other side of the building and the other end of the building. And added several windows to break up the facade of the building on all the elevations that are visible to the public. Another element from the pattern book is facade treatments and materials. Should have some interest, and we're using a composite clapboard. There's brick, there's ephes, there's glass. All are recommended materials within the pattern book guidelines. The mechanical equipment, whether roof or ground mounted, shall be screened. The roof is screened with the parapets, and it is dashed in. They are dashed in on the elevation. I'm happy to bring that in closer for you to see that they do go and make sure that those elements will be screened, and certainly on the site plan, our dumpster and compactor and transformer are all to the back of the property, and to the extent that they will be screened, we have, and certainly the dumpster and compactor will be screened with a fence. Recommendations for storefronts. Emphasize primary entrances to storefronts through the use of architectural features, etc. So we have windowsills are located 36 inches from the ground and are proportionate to the size and scale of the building. The doorways and windows are proportionate to pedestrian scale, and of course we've provided that main Route 9 entrance. So that certainly helps with that storefront appearance. Roofs and roof material. Flat roofs may be appropriate in conjunction with commercial uses when enclosed by a continuous parapet. Parapet should be a set height, etc. So we've already mentioned the fact that we have added that sloped roof line, obviously interior to the building. It's the flat roof where all the mechanical equipment is sitting, but from a facade standpoint and visual, we've provided that flat roof, or excuse me, the sloped roof for that visual appearance as part of the elevation. So thank you for indulging me in that. And that's all I have to share with respect to the elevations this evening.
Shannon, will you be submitting that narrative to the board?
We will. I'll add that. I'll send it when I send the color, because we'll have to submit this technically as well.
Tell me, I was corrected last month on CVS truck boxes in the back were used for storage. Do you have adequate storage now, since you're more in the open in the building?
Well, correct, and that's one of the reasons it's a larger building. I believe the area that we're located in today is, I'm going to say 8,000 to 9,000 square feet. I don't have the exact number, and this is over 13,000 square feet. So a portion of that is directly related to the storage room that's going to be utilized.
So it would be not necessary to leave any boxes
That
in
is
the back?
not the intent.
Good.
Not
Ms. Rutherford,
Yes, sir.
I'm a little confused with these. I like the general look. You have the west elevation and you have the south elevation, right?
Are they labeled wrong, incorrectly?
Well, you have the west elevation, that's great, right?
Right.
With the doors facing Route 9.
Right,
And you have a gable over the top of it.
right.
But you have a gable over the top of the south elevation at the same place. How can you have two gables?
So this is, okay, so
That's
this
the
is the
same
west
corner, right?
elevation
No.
and the gable.
It's the same one.
How can you have two
But it's
gables?
this-
You'll have a
It's-
valley between them.
There's gonna be a valley, there's gonna be a ridge line here
Oh.
on that corner. So there's, because,
Oh,
and this
all
is
right,
actually,
I wasn't seeing the roof in that.
that's
picture.
okay too. So the other thing too is this is out from the building, so that gable roof that you're seeing in plan view is out, where am I, here. So that gable roof is out a little bit, because it's actually providing a covered entrance, a porch almost, if you will, that type of feeling to it. And then this is.
All right, I see it now.
So they'll be
Okay.
like dormers then, almost on a
Sort of.
On
house,
that idea,
sort of like dormers?
With a valley between them, like you said. Okay, I see it.
right.
And thank you. I mean, you have made many, many, many changes. You've listened to what everyone has said, and I think it really shows.
Thank you.
And I know we've been involved in a lot of big site issues that we really haven't taken the time to talk to the look of the building, and to the materials used in the building. And you've gone really far here with addressing those issues up front. If I could, I mean, the overall, what you've presented is much better than what we had last month, I think.
Good, I'm glad you're happy. That's.
You know, my
Frank
little
gets the
notes for
credit
this
that.
meeting were, you know, the sloped roof lines in the eaves, and the entrance in the front, which, you're facing Route 9, which is there now. One of the things that, I don't know if it's possible or how it can be done, but if there's a way to carry on the on the west entrance, right, those two, to have some false windows, or one-way windows, just to carry the windows all the way across the facade. I mean, you have to have the wall space on the inside in order to have merchandise and all of that. I would, you know, I'm totally in agreement with that, but if there's some way we could take the facade and have it uniform on the west side of the building, I think that would be nice.
We can look at that. What I know comes into a challenge is that there becomes a security concern because the pharmacy is right there. Right, the drive-through, here's our drive-through and here's the facade. So the pharmacy area is right there.
Right, I totally understand. I don't want them to be windows.
Actual windows.
I want them to be something that looks like a window.
Right.
With a brick, with
The
whatever kind
wall.
of wall you need on the inside.
Right.
But just something that would take the, something that would be not a blank.
Okay. I can talk to the.
And even if it's just the last one, maybe, and a blank in the middle,
Right, one blank,
but I'm
yeah.
not sure, but if
Okay.
that could be played with.
Yeah, there's blanks in all the other elevations, so maybe one blank left.
So maybe one blank left, so right, because there's two blanks on the south side. But I think it just seems, it goes, you know, the other thing is, why did you drop the roof on the last two panels? I know the architect's not here.
No, that's, I have no idea.
Again, on the west side,
Absolutely no idea, other than, you know, perhaps.
down on the bottom one, the west elevation,
it
again,
This
to
one, well,
carry the roof.
it's matched.
I think it breaks it up a little bit.
I think it does, it provides some architectural interest with, you know, we're not one roof line, right? We didn't want one flat roof, so it provides just a little bit of architectural interest vertically and the relief in and out of the building. This, I believe, has some protection. Looks like it's extending and provide a little bit more protection over the sidewalk. And then it steps back. So I
Okay.
think it's just, for the most part, architectural interest and
Okay.
avoiding
And-
a flat.
In the architectural interest line, again, what is that roof material? Because, again, we're talking about the Elmendorf, and the Elmendorf being a National Historic Site. Can it be red tin?
Oh, that's a major change. No, I don't think so.
I'm gonna go, I don't believe so. It is.
What
it's
is
a
that
shing-
roof material?
Well, it'll be the shingled roof, and I think, I'm trying to remember, I've done so many of these as of late. I believe it's, the intent is to have it scalloped a little bit, but the shingles, it will be a shingled roof, and asphalt shingled roof, yeah.
What roof does the radio building have?
Oh, that's a good point, too.
So you have to consider that. Radio station.
Well, this is the Elmendorf that you can see is the orangey color. Radio station is a gray color to it. So I'm going to assume that it's an asphalt shingle as well, but
Yeah.
without looking at it in daylight,
Well,
this
these are,
aerial probably isn't a fair assessment. But I can, you know, note the question and certainly share it with the
right,
architect.
I don't want to continue to leave these questions. You know, I think it's time for them to be brought out.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily impacts on some of the things we want to accomplish tonight, but they do need to be
Yeah.
brought out.
We will ask about the roof.
And you mentioned that there was going to be some new lighting documents.
Correct.
Okay.
The vendor for CVS is backlogged. So again, we can't do the new lighting until we had the new site plan, and the new site plan needed to be signed off by CVS, and just by the time all of that, we were able to get the elements to submit to you, but the lighting vendor needed more time, and it simply wasn't able to be done in time for this meeting.
Does the new plan have new fixtures or just new lighting?
Well, it should be a new lighting layout, and I believe there had been some comments with respect to light levels and some light pole heights. So we
While we're on
packaged all that.
comments, we have in the village parking lot here, we have the old-fashioned fixtures. And I believe in your original proposal, you have the box lights.
Correct.
So while we're getting in the process of the lighting plan, I was wondering if you would consider something that looked a little more historic in accordance with what we have here in the village.
Okay, how about a compromise, and we could use those ornamental lights at the front and as part of that pedestrian plaza and a streetscape.
Well, you have a store up in Valatia that actually has lights that are your store in Valatia, 40 miles up the road or so, has lights that are more in keeping with the historic character throughout your site.
What we find is they simply don't provide as much, light from a security standpoint and providing adequate lighting within a parking area. Even the parking lot across the street, as we're coming out in the evening, I think you would notice, rather on the dim side, as we're leaving in the evening. So I think those type of things, we'd like some consideration on, that the lighting for the parking itself, perhaps we allowed to use the shoebox lighting and the ornamental type lights along the frontage to create some accent and create a street front sense that as the rest of Route 9 starts to be redeveloped can be continued to the north and south of us.
It's something we can discuss. You can ask, you're doing a new lighting plan. So.
It pains me to even say this, but I have to at this point. There is a budget at some point with this project, right? So all these little asks go into a line item, and it just please be considerate of that we've done a lot on this project to make it where it is. So these type of things get very difficult to happen. Don't you want billable hours? No. I want a break. I'm having a baby in 3 weeks.
You look good. Congratulations.
You look good.
So yes, we will ask, but I just want to set that stage.
Well, I just happened to be in Valatia at the store, and I saw.
Valatia may not have had everything else though.
Dave, do you have anything else? Right.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Don?
Yeah, I'd like to make a preliminary vote on approval here. Where's everyone stands?
Well, I think that we are in a position to talk about approving the seeker.
Right.
But acknowledging that we have lighting and design issues that still need to be worked out in the continuing process.
Right, you
But I think-
can't approve without the lighting plan.
But
We can't have a final approval of the project without, the lighting plan, without some of the design elements. But we can continue to move the process forward and approve the seeker, the draft environmental impact statement. They're two separate things. One does not foreclose out the other. But it moves the process along and gets CVS closer. it moves CVS forward in the direction they need to go on while they continue to work with us. Okay. Also, we have some, is there anyone in the audience tonight that hasn't spoken before or that would like to speak again? Okay.
I'd like to speak again if there's no one.
Just have them state their name and address when they come forward, and if they could come to the podium.
Okay.
And have those who haven't spoken before
We'll
speak
go
first.
first, right. Okay. So, George, I don't think you spoke last time, so if you'd like to give your name, your address, and,
George Bateman, 15
or go to
Cherry
the
Street.
podium.
I've had camera time before, regular meetings, I don't need to be on camera.
But we need it on the microphone.
Oh, he's right behind me. Can you hear me? Okay.
If Fred's okay, we're okay.
I'm on 15 Cherry Street, which is one of the southern properties that border the parking lot. And my concern right along has been the right-of-way that we have. I've spoken to 4 of the property owners, 2 of us are here today, and I don't see enough detail. I think they really should contact the property owners to get some feedback as to how they can accomplish the right-of-way through the landscaping that's being shown here. 3 of the houses have to have access from the back. 2 of them probably don't need it.
Okay. Shannon, can you address that?
I can, if you'd like me to address that right now, I sure can.
George, do you want to go up so she can show you closer? Because
Okay.
the board is small. Yes?
So
Can I go up too? I want to
Oh,
see
you're,
other...
of course, please.
Sure.
Just, you have to state your name and your address.
I'm Craig Anderson, 9 Cherry Street.
Thank you.
So the intent, this will be left at grade. So that the access can come right in off of this, so it's 14 feet wide, and that access will remain.
Yep.
We've left these existing trees.
This is how it's set up currently.
Correct,
This is the property line.
right,
We don't need the 14 feet. This is for us to access to get in.
correct.
So you can run the parking lot right up to here. Just have to put a fencing up, like a plastic fence with the sleeved 4x4 posts.
Right, there's a
It's
grade
decorative.
elevation because of what we have here, so,
This, as you can see, it's pretty flat. Running alongside, right next to these, in this section right here, which is right in front of the existing fence line, and have gates for the houses that may need it, that access from the inside.
well, we had a fence there, and then we had talked, and we said we didn't want the fence because we were gonna impact your access, so we took our fence out, leave your fences there.
Well, and there's
And
different
then leave
options you
it.
can do if you address.
Could somebody, could you move a little so we all can see
Well, they can explain
what you're
to us
talking about?
So,
In other words, you could, if you did that, you could get all this parking area back and you can bump it out wherever.
but we can't because there's a need for a
Elevation change.
retaining wall. There's a
Elevation
grade
change.
elevation change, so if I start to push, then you're gonna have a retaining wall because.
Pretty
Right,
flat.
but
So
it's
just-
not, that's not where we are today,
Okay.
because the building had to be pushed forward, and because we have multiple entrances. The supermarket did not have multiple entrances, and its entrance at the front was recessed.
5 feet
We had to
down.
take, you had to take multiple stairs down. So with the introduction of this entrance, with the entrance at the front, the grades here drive the finished floor elevation of the building. So I've got the finished floor elevation of the building and the parking area pulling away from it. But this area, I have an entrance here and an entrance here. The finished floor elevations have to match. So I have to start to pull the parking up to match, which means I have a 2 to 3 foot elevation change here.
Lower.
This is higher, this is a little lower. So there's no, I can't get there. I can't meet my ADA requirements, have the building forward, have 2 entrances.
Well, and it's.
I just, the only way to, and that's, we looked at this multiple times, because the question is, there is no retaining wall right now on the site, why do you have one now? And that's the driving force. This is the high point. This then set the elevation. This is all one elevation. This is all one elevation because of ADA access. And then we can only get so far down, which drove the need for the retaining wall. So the initial plan, we did have parking here, but the retaining wall was in the middle of the easement area. So we understanding the need to maintain that. We pulled the retaining wall is outside of the easement, 2 to 3 feet.
So that's 2 to 3 feet, and then there's that 14 feet there, or
Correct,
space or whatever.
correct.
At original elevation.
At grade, at original elevation, and there's yard drains that are in here that connect to the closed drainage system.
So in order to
So
access this, they
you'd have to
have
come
in
down.
from the whole stretch here.
Correct.
With equipment.
Correct.
Because basically it's to address septic system issues.
Understood, right, no,
My
I
house
understand.
here, just, they don't block me in like it currently is.
Sure,
I can access from the side, I don't need the back, you can bump it there, it doesn't make a difference. This one here, they don't need it because they've got big access here.
sure.
But these three, they're landlocked.
Right,
It'll-
which is why we left the
We left
14
the
feet
14
undisturbed.
feet open and
Yeah.
undisturbed.
This tree comes out into it, or?
No, the
That's
tree,
just looking-
it's just,
Looking down on it.
it's just the elevation of
They can
it,
move
so it's
that,
just,
they can move that one.
and I can move that.
Gentlemen,
Later or now?
gentlemen, do you have a preference? You're here for grass over pavement. Would you like that to be grass?
Well, they're gonna have to maintain it, it's on their property, it's a question of how that works.
That's not a pave, you gotta, that's how you gotta get in and out,
Well,
if you ever need it.
well, you can drive by grass. Because,
And you said there's gonna be
tractor,
the drainage, you're gonna put drainage here that's gonna tie into there, so
It'll tie in,
that you
just,
don't all,
right, well, there'll be a
Pool
curb
back
line,
there.
Well, it's all
well,
gonna be,
this will be a curb line, so all of this is going to be
Yeah.
contained on site. So the yard drains are solely for this 14
Right,
feet
right.
here that's below. But all of this, the pavement is all going to be contained and drained to a closed drainage system on site. The yard drains really are kind of a belt and suspenders. Most of it's gonna infiltrate into the ground, but should there be a need, there's a yard drain there that's connected in.
the key is gonna be the access right across the back.
Right.
Correct.
Which
That's
will
why
be
we
left.
left it open and we left it at grade.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were changing the grade that much on it.
Yeah, it's the driving, it's meeting everybody's operational needs and having that building so close to the street.
so like a fence, dead space on your thing, so it's.
We won't be
Right,
putting a
there's-
fence on our line, I mean, on that line.
Right, so
There's
there's,
still 2 feet retaining wall, right?
there's a fence,
Well,
right, so there'll be
14
a
feet from the line.
fence. So from a practical standpoint, you know, it just extends your usable area because CVS won't be using it on a, from a
What
practical
about
standpoint, we
all
can
the
maintain it.
trash that
so-
gets accumulated there?
Well, that's below it. You're higher.
I'm higher
Yeah, I
here.
know.
So there's a curb line here, and there's the retaining wall, and then a guide rail.
Just as if it was a parking lot where there's the same thing, except this time.
I'll be after the
Shannon said-
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
But as Madam Chair said, if you have a preference amongst the property owners as far as grass or pavement,
I would prefer.
I would think that might be, because it's just gonna, I think this, the trouble of trying to maintain it, because we have weeds and tree, stuff grows up now and destroys the fencing that we
well,
have.
just so you know, it is proposed as paved right now.
Then there you go.
Yeah, there's drainage there, we don't have any drainage issues now. But my
And
concern would
hopefully
be,
none in the
on
future.
my end here, that
No, it's sand. There's
yeah, my
sand.
concern
Okay.
here would be maybe
That-
somebody explain to what they're going to do with this particular line here, so I can, right now I have I have a spike fence that was built to block my driveway.
Right, well,
It's tight.
you had talked about,
I mean, I cut the grass here now, this whole section.
right, but we had thought of putting a fence in, but you have a, it's a split rail, is it split rail or it's a spike?
It's all falling apart, yeah, but
Okay.
that was the spike fence that was put in. I put a fence about that far with stockade.
Right,
I mean, if they wanted to put a fence, you know, move it out a little bit, just come down to about here.
okay.
And then some kind of open fencing, or leave it open, and I'll trim it myself or whatever. So you can, so people coming out can see.
Well, you need the sight lines. We had taken the fence out, understanding that we wanted to not impede.
We're still,
So-
the aesthetic elements, we're still gonna have some conversations on.
I just, because I saw all this landscaping in here,
Right,
I
This is the,
realized there's
this is
grade
the,
elevation there, so.
no, this is the retaining wall here, so
I
the
don't
curve.
understand what he's asking.
This is
Yeah,
landscaping, this is sloped, so there's a retaining wall here.
Uh,
This is sloped off the curb, and then there's another retaining wall here, a short one, because there's a pinch point between the corner and the edge of the 14
This is
foot.
sloped down, and what did you say was 2 feet? This isn't gonna go down like quickly then?
Correct. Yep.
And this tree won't be there then?
Well, I can slide it up. I mean, the tree
Okay.
is gonna be planted, the center of the tree is here, so the tree would be planted on our property. The canopy would have overhung into the easement area. I can
So
slide
currently
it.
the green would be grass at this point, would this be,
No, grass.
that would be grass?
Anything
This
that's
part here
green
would be-
is grass.
That'd be a good plan.
We were talking about a compromise between asphalt and grass, which would be putting in pavers that would support the weight of a vehicle, but yet grass would grow up between the pavers. A special paver with holes in it, I believe.
Well, you know, the only vehicles coming back there for the purpose of accessing might be a backhoe or something like that.
Right,
And that
that's
might
why I
be
prefer,
once every
that's why I
5 to
prefer
10 years,
grass versus,
hopefully, or
that's why I
less.
prefer grass versus asphalt. Asphalt, there's no water that penetrates in.
You got the drainage things though.
Those are
I don't know
just
why- I don't know
small,
why you
those are
want
small
pavement
catch
there,
basins. They
Is
can
it
be
the,
put
is
in.
it that you don't want to mow any more grass? Is that what's
Well,
it?
that would be one reason, I guess. If you gotta go.
It's not a problem.
CPS could probably agree to mow that grass for you if you want. I'd rather see grass there.
Okay.
It's CBS's property.
Yeah, exactly.
So they would have to mow it.
So they're responsible for the maintenance of it.
We can work on that issue.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm Chris Close, and I am Secretary of Historic Red Hook, which is the possessor, owner of record of the Elmendorf, and we are the amalgamation from the Historical Society and the Friends of Elmendorf. Our concern is that this is really, it's a move in Red Hook for the first kind of box store that we've ever seen, and it breaks precedent of, I believe, the comprehensive plan and probably Saker too in its intent. The intent of Saker is to keep the community the same way. I think they've done a good job of accommodating concerns. I think it's good for the village to have a thriving economic entity such as CBS there. I think devil happens to be in the details as everybody's been concerned this evening. So our concern at the Elmendorf is that we require as much as possible in a compromise, perhaps, that this building, which breaks precedent, tries to be as in concert.
Sorry.
Tries to remain in concert with the Red Hook of not only our past, which is fast disappeared all over as we've seen over the last 50 years, especially with the loss of significant buildings. If it weren't for the Friends of Elmendorf, we would have lost the Elmendorf, which is a marvelous community center. So in the future, and we can never tell what the future holds, but I would like that western facade, especially, and the southern facade, as much as possible, to be in concert with what we are familiar with in Red Hook as a public viewscape. I think that the slope roofs are fine. I'm not an architect, I'm not a designer, but I can tell you that I know when a design is better than the last time. Let's see a message in here someplace. First of all, to hear it. Barring that, Historic Elmendorf's interest is in also as much landscaping as possible with sturdy, long-lasting trees. The eastern redbud is a tree. We would like to see perhaps some maples, oaks, whatever it can be. But again, that's just our 250-year take on Red Hook. I think that as much as possible as well, the lighting needs to be reflective of what the Elmendorf is, which is the past, and it's very dim, I know, it's terrible to go out into that parking lot. It doesn't have the lights, but it's thankfully the same as it was. We'll probably benefit from the new lighting in the parking lot, but we don't want too much light. If there's going to be some way to screen the enormous impact of that light, it's going to be a beacon. However the lights are rearranged and muted, it's going to be a significant light source that has not been there, even under the IGA operation. So those are our concerns. They are One, it breaks the precedent of the work that's going into seeker and the comprehensive plan and the plan book, in that it is a big box store. It's not as big as, of course, stuff that's across the river, but for Red Hook, it's a huge store in the village. So I would like it to be, as much as we can speak for historic Red Hook and the future, as well as the past, to be in concert with what we are used to seeing. Thank you.
Chris, if I might ask a couple of questions?
Yes?
Can you be a little more specific for the purposes of Sharon and the folks from CBS?
I would, yes, I haven't seen it, I've been trying to look through it. You know, I don't know how deep the entrance is on the west. How deep is it? What does it look like? Is it just stuck on? I don't know.
You're welcome to look at the architectural elevation.
Can you tell me how deep it's gonna, I mean, if I come in out of the rain, which I'm trying to do. Thank you. This is the west entrance.
The west elevation, correct. And so here it is in plan view. So it's 6 feet roughly, 5-6 feet in depth. Well, this is actually, it projects out,
so it's cantilever up.
So it's cantilever, right? Here's your building face.
Oh, there,
And
it's
so
just
there
a
it
box
is.
with a.
So it's cantilevered out with the porch entrance to
Yeah,
it.
well, it's, you know, again, I'm not a designer, but I do have a pair of eyes, and it looks like a box store with a jut off its top, a cap on it. I don't know how that can be fixed, but I think those are material issues to what we need in Red Hook, which is to continue to look like we, as much as possible. And I'm not trying to say this is not a good thing. It's a good thing for Red Hook. We'll have lots of services from it, but we must hold the feet to the fire as much as possible. This stuff you talked about, I agree. But the architect needs to do a better job of the facade, especially in the gateway to the village.
Especially the west side, I guess, right?
Especially the west side and the south side, which we look at from the Elmendorf. And now is the time.
Okay, yes?
My name is Bill Seymour. I spoke last time. I think the traffic issues have been resolved. I understand what Mr. Close is saying, but if you look, last time somebody had concerns about the architectural details. If you look at coming into the village from any direction, there is no conformity or uniformity. You know, so the Elmendorf needs to stand out by itself.
And it does.
And, you know, the building where the radio station is now, that was reflective, you know, with the Elmendorf. But this whole operation is an upgrade from, certainly from many other buildings that are existing in the village. I mean, if you go down further where the post office is, you got Keels, you got the existing CVS, you got a real mishmash.
Right, and I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you, Mr. Seymour, but we now do have the pattern book. And the pattern book is part of our zoning plan, and this is what we have to go by now to provide a little more uniformity in the village than we've had previously. And I think the folks have, you know, the Shannon and everyone from CVS has gone a very long way to accommodate the pattern book and the guidelines. So the fact that there is a mishmash in Red Hook, I think the pattern book was created to address that and to continue to grow the community, you know, in accordance with this. This is very similar to what we have in the town, all going up and down Route 9.
There's problems with the town zoning too, I mean, as far as that goes in the business district. But I'm just saying that you can't take this size store. The whole idea, part of the architectural details here right now, bring the the bulk of the building down considerably from what the IGA is for the second story, which is a definite plus. You know, it brings it down so it's not as imposing volume. And the fact that it's moving over helps too, because it creates space on both sides, and that too will help bring it down and, well, I'm not explaining it right, but right now it's tight up against the building to the north, and it's all scrunched together. When it comes out, it's a whole different ballgame. You know, the way it's set back lets the Elmador be more visible from the north, so that's a plus. Architecturally, you got, it's a job to do, there's no question about it.
Thank you, Phil. Sue?
I don't want to go to the podium if nobody minds, so I'll just stand up. I'm at 7579 Old Post Road. I live in one of the Victorians on Old Post Road. And the main difference between where the CVS is now located, which is smack in the middle of the business district, is the fact that across the street from where the IGA now is a residential neighborhood. Yes, we are in the R20,000 district. We are not in the business district. We are not in the general business district, whatever it's called. Okay, and from a little bit south, all the way up Old Post Road, there are homes. And all the homes are of a historic nature, one way or another. Okay, not just the Victorians, but there are houses that predate mine, there are houses that are after mine, but they have their own character. Okay, it's not what you would call a commercial district. So having this across the street, okay, first of all, the lighting does impact the people across the street, which is me and my neighbors. They have children, they have many people going by there. The sidewalk has created a route that people walk all the time. I've been told by neighbors, people walk around the sidewalk, they go for exercise, whatever, during the day, and there's a lot of people. There's cyclists, there are pedestrians. It's not in the middle of the business district. So the lighting, I mean, I'm going off on tangents, but it's a historic corridor. I was told by Albany that I'm in a historic corridor, okay? So that has to be respected, not because I live there and I have a Victorian, but because it is what it is. And yes, I could move, as you suggested last time, and if I knew there were businesses across the way, but there were not big businesses, I never noticed all that much traffic going in and out of the IGA. I think people shopped at different hours. I think that a drugstore is different, and Mr. Seymour explained that down on the southern end, between that and the light, it does impact the amount of traffic, and it backs it up, and yes, there'll be more spaces for people to come in and out of. But you have to realize that it's more of a residential area. It's, there are people that live behind my house, and they go all the way around, and it's all houses. But what you see on that street are historic houses. They each have their own character, okay, and people love it. People love those houses, all right? That's why the design of this building is very important. I wanted to also just address the lighting, because there was a problem previously when the IGA was remodeled with the light coming out and being like very strident across the street where people live. And so I think we should be sensitive to the fact that there are people living across the street. It's not a bunch of businesses across the street. And it's, it's across Route 9, and there's another small road, which is Old Post Road, but it's very visible. So I just wanted to make that point, and that you should be sensitive. I understand the budgetary concerns, but within the budgetary concerns, if you can make changes, okay, not for it to be like super contemporary. I really, really appreciate the differences between last time and this time. I certainly do. I think you've added a lot of architectural interest, and I was the one that was talking about mullions and not being a design professional, but making it more old-fashioned, okay? If you go to Ridgefield, Connecticut, and you look at a CVS, I'm sure those people were not going to have what you have in Kingston, and they would not allow it, okay? We're not quite as rich, maybe not quite as powerful, but we'd like our area to look that way, to look in keeping with what you see on the street. So I just wanted to make those points. May I thank you?
Thanks, Sue.
Can I just make a comment? I don't know, I forgot what your first name was.
Susan.
Susan.
Excuse me, could you please stand and state your name and your
Sure.
address, please?
Tom Chrisley, Tivoli, New York. My question is that next door to you, are you next to the Duchess?
No, there's
You don't live
another
next to the
home
Duchess
between.
over there?
No.
No, there's nothing. And
Close,
Beth,
close.
are you an owner in the Duchess?
Yes, I
Own
am.
the Duchess? And is there a conflict of interest here, you being on the board and going through this?
No, there is not.
There isn't?
She's a homeowner, just as I am.
Yeah, but.
No, legal
Not from
did.
some of the stuff that I've been hearing. I've been hearing stuff like, when we first
No,
got the
excuse me.
entrances in and out of the parking lot, stuff like that, and they're directly right across the street from you. That kind of like.
You can have,
brings up
you
a,
can, let Victoria's the village's attorney. We've had discussions on it, but the public has not been part of it, so just let Victoria address it.
Okay, you want me to address the conflict of interest?
Yeah. No, it's
I don't think
arisen,
it's-
and I
To
don't,
me, it looks like there's a conflict there, I think. I mean.
Well, so
from
that
what I
can
see.
be, that can be your comment to the board. The
Right.
board is not required to respond to that comment,
Right.
but you've asked me to address it, so I will. The village's conflict of interest policy does not say that being adjacent to or next to a proposed development is a per se conflict of interest. If she was part owner or had a stake in the CPS project, then that would be a conflict of interest. If the general rule though is that if a member is biased or predisposed towards an application and can't judge it fairly, then there may be a potential conflict of interest. But I've spoken to Ms. Pagano, and she does not feel that her location is impacting the review of the project in any way. She's treating it just like every other project in the village, and so therefore she's continuing to review the application. And it's not up for discussion. It's not something that we can argue back and forth about.
No.
I mean,
But just as long as everybody's aware of it.
right, she just
village is
closed
a,
that
it's a
building.
1 square mile village. I think we all know where we all
We're gonna
live.
bump each other every once in a while. That's-
Right, I mean, there is a procedure for someone to file a complaint and go to a county ethics board if that was what they wanted to do.
I don't think that would be in CVS's best interest, though, because it would only continue to delay a project that we're all trying to move forward.
Okay, I don't see that, but okay.
I second the lawyer.
Okay, where do you want to go next?
Are there
Two
any
more.
comments?
3 more.
I'm Phil Marsh. I wrote the letter that you read at the beginning.
Oh, welcome, Mr.
So
Marsh.
I'll start by saying I'm definitely in favor of getting CVS into this particular IGA vacant building. And I'm definitely against having a vacant building in Red Hook. In other words, I want to get this project going now. It seems to me that well, let me ask a question of the people here. Is this the first time you heard about the lighting for this? In other words, making a colonial kind of lighting? I live, by the way, right next to Abrams Park. And
Yes.
they have those colonial lights that you put in there as well. But this is the first you've heard about the lighting problem?
It's the first time we've been, I believe, requested to include ornamental lights as
But
part
let me
of
just go
the...
back. We can't continue putting this project off as you folks take trips to different other villages and see something you like.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Mr. Marsh.
You come
And
up with
that
the
is,
idea that you go to Galatia, 40 miles north, and you saw these colonial lights in the parking lot with the CVS building up there. Is this the first time you brought that to their attention?
this is the first meeting at which we have discussed the architectural design of the exterior of the building. We have, this is the first meeting that we have discussed the architectural elements of the building.
And this has not been brought up, I mean, to my knowledge, this has been going on now for almost 2 years or 3 years.
It was submitted in April or May
April
of this year.
was when this was first submitted to this board.
April what?
April of 2014 was the first submission of this site plan
Okay.
by CVS.
Phil, we were working through some other bigger issues, like whether there should be one entrance or
Okay.
two. That was a big issue.
Okay.
And then we worked through another big issue, which was, should there be a double, in and out at one spot on the southwest corner?
Okay.
Or just a
My
one-way
concern is
pattern.
that I'm afraid that you folks might take a trip into another village, maybe over to Rhinebeck, New York, and see what they've got there, and come back with new ideas. And if we continue this, we're doing something like wordsmithing. We're just going to continue this project into the future and never get it off the.
Well, I think, Mr. Marsh, that's why you're hearing a lot of ideas come out today, because it was the board's desire to bring all of these smaller issues to CVS today, rather than, because we have now dealt with the traffic issue. We have dealt with the location of the building on the site. We have dealt with ingress and egress, and we have dealt with the major issues that drive everything that goes after this. Because if you change, as Ms. Rutherford has said many times, every time you make a change to the orientation of the building, it follows a pattern. So we just at the last meeting reached the point where we knew where the building was going to be, we knew where the entrances were going to be. And in fact, there was still another change to the entrances between the last meeting and this one. So both sides, the board and CVS, has continued to make changes. I think we're at a place now where we are ready to approve the overall design and scale of the plan, and then work on the individual details.
When do you anticipate the approval of the plan? I mean, give me a wild guess.
Mr. Marsh, they just presented us with a new set of site plans 2 days ago.
So my
I
question-
think everyone is working very hard here.
Well, I'd like to see it completed by, I saw a date of September 2015. Is that still realistic?
It's realistic.
With all this dragging?
The potential still exists.
Okay.
At this point.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You both. Arlene, go ahead.
First of all, I would just, Arlene Harkins, Red Hook. As with the Elmendorf, I also own a historical situation in Red Hook. Would like to commend you for answering seriously all the questions that the board did pose last month. You came back, you followed the plan book, you went through, and most of those things are in the plan book. That's probably half the size that the IGA was, so it's not an enormous building or whatever. That area there should have something like that. I agree that the Elmendorf should be protected, everything should have its own right, the lighting and whatever else. But you also have to remember that it's not the end of the commercial area at the IGA. You have Phil's building, you have the markets up there, you have Salvatore's, you have the other chiropractic thing. That's the end, basically, of the business district for that. So we're only just talking about one situation here, but with everything that they've done and everything that you've suggested, I think it's an excellent project. I think you should give them the seeker and do the negative declaration tonight.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Craig Anderson, Cherry Street. I just had a question. I was hearing people talk, first time I've ever been here, worried about lighting, this and that, and I border exactly on that south end, my lot there. So what I guess my only question would be, is it going to keep the same hours? Because that's really like lighting, everything. I mean, if keeping regular hours, whatever, they're closed at 10 o'clock now. I mean, I know the one in Kingston's 24 hours that they just opened up there. And so if it were a change in, the hours is really what would be most important to me, because, after they close, then the lighting's not really an issue at that point.
Correct. I believe we're already on record indicating that the intent is for this new store to have the same hours as the existing store in the center of the village.
All right, thank you.
Good. Bill?
Not doing the billing, but, you know, I agree, the billing's tough. I mean, the question about parking or grass on that south side in that right of way, I would very much like to see grass, because, you know, everywhere you go, you see so damn much pavement. I mean, even over the mall, I mean, they got excess amounts of paving, you know. Green as much as we can get. And the other thing was, when you're talking about seeker, I've only done seeker like 4 times on the existing IGA building, which is much more difficult than what this site. So I would think that the seeker would be a matter of asking the questions and moving on to the next question. It should be a real simple process. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Seeing as 4 other planning boards had no problem with the site.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Tiberio, owners of the IGA property. I would like to thank CBS for your patience and your hard work and everything that you've done to try to bring this project together. Thank the board for all your input. I want to just, again, I just want you to consider how much they've answered a lot of your requests and how they've continued to grow this project. And I'd also like you to consider my family, who has had this burden of upkeeping insurance and taxes, which has become a real hardship to our family. And we were at one time a pillar in this community, as far as very supportive in this community, to the village, to all the other businesses in this town. And I'd like to see this project and just move forward at this point, because I just, you see here before you, everybody here is in favor of let's get it going.
Thank you, Mr. Tiberio. Okay. Anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay.
Okay, so you can, if you decide that you want to continue the public hearing so that you can consider the lighting plan and those other elements, you would have a motion to continue the hearing until January 8th. And then I'm going to recommend a 5-minute break, and then we can come back and talk about seeker.
Okay.
But it looks like Mr. Miranda wants to speak.
I only have like a 30 or 40 minute presentation. Very quickly, we heard a lot of the comments, we've heard them in the past, and I think we did come back and try to address most of them. We appreciate the comments about lighting. We're going to go back and we're going to look at the lighting and get those details to you, absolutely. Just to be clear about something as far as the Elmendorf goes, from the minute we came in to this community, we knew about the Elmendorf. We've taken the Elmendorf under consideration. The placement of the building involves the Elmendorf consideration. The landscaping involves the Elmendorf consideration. But I will say, just a reminder, we did get a determination from the State Historic Preservation Office confirming that this has no adverse effect on historic properties in the area, and that also includes the diner. So I just want to be clear about that. And I think it was noted already, so I don't really know if I need to say it again, but I will. It's a substantially smaller building, so as far as precedent and big box store type development, we don't believe this is it. We do believe we've changed the prototype of this significantly to blend in with the community, and we do believe that we've followed the pattern book as closely as possible. So we'll leave it at that for now. Again, we would like to move forward with seeker tonight, which I know we're going to talk about in 5 to 7 minutes. But I would also just add that if the board would be so inclined, seeing that we've now had 2 vibrant public hearings, perhaps closing the public hearing tonight, moving forward with these technical details as we go forward, would be another way to get closer to the end. So we would ask for that tonight.
Okay, so we would vote to close the public hearing now.
Well, that's up to you. If you close the public hearing and it takes them a month to give you a lighting plan, or a month and a half, you're into a 62-day time frame for issuing a decision once the public hearing is closed and seeker is completed. So that's my only concern. I always think the conservative approach, better to leave the public hearing open. Yeah. And this way you can have comments by the public on the lighting plan at the next meeting as well. But it's up to you. If you think you've heard everything you needed to hear, you can close the public hearing.
You know, given that we just received these plans, that there's a new lighting plan to come, you know, maybe next time, since a lot of this has been heard, I don't know, but I think it's probably better to leave it open.
Yes. If that's the case, maybe the comments, if there are comments going forward, number one, could be limited to that information so we don't go backwards as far as what we've already spoken at length about. So we would ask that would be under consideration if the hearing was to remain open. And that just because the hearing is open at another meeting, what we just don't want to have happen is we come back to close a hearing to then only then get direction to move forward with a decision. That's all I'm asking. So I think, Victoria, you understand what I'm saying with that as far as...
If I can summarize, let me try it.
Sure.
Okay. If we leave the public hearing open, you would like to limit the comments to the lighting plan, to the architectural details, which were just changed and submitted this month, that we have resolved the term, in terms, I guess what you're saying is we're not going to reopen the size of the building, the location of the building, the orientation of the building, the access, the movement in and out of the site. Okay, you have complied, because we haven't spoken tonight about drainage, but I'm assuming, Mr. Flores, they have complied with all of your comments in the drainage?
That's all set.
Okay, so that issue is now, has been addressed. So I think if we are in agreement on those items.
We appreciate that. That's a good step in the right direction.
I mean, I don't think legally you can stop the public from making those comments, but you can give the applicant guidance that the board is happy on those particular items, so that they don't have to change them moving forward.
Which is what I took from that. We're not trying to silence anyone.
Not at all.
Okay. Dave, are you okay with that?
Okay with that?
Ray?
Yes.
Don?
Okay.
Okay.
So, motion?
So I'm going to move that we continue the public hearing until next month, but that it be, that the scope be the lighting plan, which has yet to, oh, okay, I can't.
Yeah.
So that just the public hearing be continued to next month, January 8th, 2015, at 7 p.m. or thereabouts.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we have our 5-minute break and then we'll do seeker.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Yeah, to order at 9:15 on Thursday night, December 11th, 2014. Okay. At this point, I think we wanted to discuss completing the part 2 of the environmental assessment form, and then discuss a resolution and determination of non-significance for TMC Northeast 2 and the property currently known as the IGA at 7568 South Broadway. So I think the next step, Dave, did you have did we have a question for Victoria?
We can continue, we can proceed through seeker without having finalized on some architectural details and lighting details?
So seeker discusses significant environmental impacts. It does not stop you from continuing to review site details, such as lighting fixtures and light trespass.
Okay.
And architectural.
And other architectural features. What you're saying is that, you know, what they've proposed so far will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. It doesn't mean you can't make it better. It just means, you know, it's the minimum required.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think the applicant has requested that we do that and has agreed that we can continue the lighting plan and architectural discussions beyond this date. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Victoria, do we start going through this?
Yep. Part 2, you just go question by question.
Okay.
start
Sorry,
with number 1.
I've never done this before, so she's got to lead me. Okay.
And if the heading is a no, you don't
Then
have
we
to
can
go
don't
through all
have
the
to-
rest.
Okay.
Hinted.
Yeah.
Okay, so, number one of the Part 2 environmental assessment form was the impact on land. If you don't mind, I'd like to go through these because I have some questions for Mr. Flores in the process of determining whether the answer to number one is yes or no. Okay? The proposed action may involve construction on land where the water table is less than 3 feet. I believe that's no.
That's no.
Okay. Construction on slopes of 15% or greater is no. Bedrock within 5 feet of the existing ground surface is no. I don't know the answer to D, involving the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. I believe that's no. Okay. Construction that continues for more than 1 year. You don't plan on being...
I will be unemployed. That's all I was.
I just wanted, I wanted you to get that on the record.
Yes, ma'am.
The action resulting in increased erosion, I believe that's no. Located within a coastal erosion area, that's no. So, impact on land, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site, the answer is no. Okay. Number two is impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, and there are several examples, none of which are on the site, so the answer to that is no. 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. There are no wetlands on the property, so I believe, Mr. Flores, that's a no as well. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. Mr. Flores, I have to yield to your decision on that.
What I would recommend a no. You could go through the details, but...
No, if you recommend a no, I'm okay with that. Everybody's okay with that?
No, okay.
Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding. I believe that's also a no, Mr. Flores? No. Okay. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. The answer is no.
No.
Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna. The answer to that is no. We're going to get more flora. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. The answer is no. Impact on aesthetic resources. Okay. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed object and a scenic or aesthetic resource. I think it's probably best to go through all of these individually. And Victoria, I have some questions for you here, so you'll have to guide me. Proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic source. Again, to me, that's a yes or no question and not an impact, so you have to, how?
Right, well, so your choices are no, small, no or small or moderate. So if you're not in the, if it's not visible from any designated federal, state, local, scenic, or aesthetic resource, then you would just check the no to small box.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 historic resources, but
Right.
those are not necessarily scenic or aesthetic resources. Generally, this question pertains to like a scenic vista, a mountain, something that has been designated as a scenic viewpoint, those types of resources.
Okay. Okay, so that would be no or small impact then?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, no, it'd be a no, yeah.
The proposed action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. That's again a no. The proposed action may be visible, oh my gosh, from publicly accessible vantage points, seasonally or year-round. The answers to both those are no. The situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, recreational tourism-based activities. Again, Victoria, you're telling me that this pertains to things like mountains and the
Yes.
like?
And it's referring you to question E3H in the EAF, so I'm just looking at that real quick. The new EAFs are so long. 2, 3, D, H. Okay, so, yeah, so, they have identified this as being within the scenic corridor overlay. And it's near it in the town of Red Hook, but that doesn't apply in the village.
Okay.
I don't know, it does say town of Red Hook zoning map scenic corridor overlay, but we're in the village, and so the town's scenic corridor map would not apply within the boundaries of the village.
Okay. So, how do you guys?
It's 1 mile away from that scenic corridor.
No.
So no or small impact?
No or small.
Okay. The proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource. That's a no. And there are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. I guess that's a no also. I don't really
that's
understand that
almost
one either. Oh, okay, so overall, that's a no then.
Mhm.
10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. Again, I'm just going to go through this one individually. The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to any buildings or archaeological site or district which is listed on or has been nominated by the New York State Board of Historic Preservation for inclusion in the state or national register of historic places.
So that's a yes, because it's near the Almendorf and the Halfway Diner. So the board just has to decide whether it'll result in a small impact or a large impact.
Okay. I think given that we're still discussing that we've come such a long way in what they've done and that we're all agreed to continue working on that, then we could say a small or no impact?
Correct.
Okay, subject to that we've agreed to continue the discussions on the aesthetics and the lighting? Okay. The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites in the New York State Historic Preservation Office. That's a no.
So the answer is yes, it is within a potentially sensitive area, but the site's been previously disturbed, so there's not the potential to
Okay.
find anything.
Oh, that's how, okay. The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an archaeological site not included in the SHPO inventory.
No.
Okay, no. So we don't have to go any further on that one then,
Right.
Victoria?
Correct.
Okay. So the answer to 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources, is no. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. I believe the answer to that is no?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No?
No.
Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. Mr. Flores, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Well, we can just go through the same exercise, right?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Project traffic increase may exceed capacity of existing road network. It won't exceed the capacity of the road network.
Okay.
No.
So no.
The proposed action may result in the construction of paved parking area for 500 or more vehicles. That's no.
Okay.
Proposed action will degrade existing transit access. The answer to that is no. Proposed action will degrade existing pedestrian or bicycle accommodations. The answer to that is no. It might actually enhance it.
Benson, right.
Proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. I think on the bigger picture, the answer to that is no.
Okay. So the overall answer to number 13, impact on transportation, is no. Okay. Number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. I believe the answer to that is no. Mr. Flores?
Well, it's one of those where if you go through the details, the answer is going to be no. But obviously, you're going to use electricity.
Right.
But the significant environmental impact is no.
Okay.
It's less than what IGA used, so.
Number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. Okay. Again, we still have to talk about the lighting plan, but I think we'll just go through these really quickly. Okay. The proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation. The answer to that is no. The proposed action may result in blasting within 1,500 feet of any residence, hospital, school, licensed daycare center, or nursing home. The answer is no. The proposed action may result in routine orders for more than 1 hour per day. No.
Odors.
Odors.
That depends on what contractors are there.
The proposed action may result in light shining onto adjoining properties.
We'll make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thank you. We will make sure that that is a no.
Yes.
The proposed action may result in lighting creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions. Again, we will make sure the answer to that is no. So then the overall answer to number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light, with absolute agreement from the applicant, the answer is no. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. I believe the answer to that is no, Mr. Flores?
That's right.
Okay. Consistency with community plans, number 17. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Is this another one we should go through one by one?
Sure.
The proposed action's land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns. No, small impact?
It's a no.
The proposed action will cause the permanent population of the city, town, or village to which the project is projected to grow by more than 5%. The answer to that is no. The proposed action is inconsistent with local land use patterns or zoning regulations. The answer to that is no.
No.
The proposed action is inconsistent with any county plans or other regional land use plans. The answer is no. The proposed action may cause a change in the density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure or is distant from existing infrastructure. The answer is no. The proposed action is located in an area characterized by low-density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure. The answer is no. The proposed action may induce secondary development impacts such as residential or commercial development not included in the proposed action, and the answer to that is no. So the overall answer for number 17, consistency with community plans, The answer is that the proposed action is consistent with the adopted land use plans. Number 18, consistency with community character. Again, this one we need to go through point by point. The proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance to the community. The answer to that is no. The proposed action may create a demand for additional community services, such as schools, police, and fire. The answer is no. The proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing in an area where there is a shortage of such housing. The answer to that is no. The proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources. The answer is no. The proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character. How do we answer? The answer to that is we're continuing to work on it. So no, or small impact. And that is one of the things we're continuing to move forward on. The proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape, and the answer to that is also no. So for the purposes of moving forward, the answer to number 18, consistency with community character, the proposed project is consistent with the existing community character. And is not inconsistent with the existing community character. So that's going to be no. That's the end.
Okay.
So what comes next?
So the next step, we don't have to do a part 3 because you answered no or small.
Okay.
If you had answered yes, large, moderate to large to any of them, we would have to go through a full explanation in a part 3. But we are kind of doing a modified part 3 because you have a basis for your negative declaration here. So you have a resolution before you to adopt a negative declaration based on part 2 of the EAF and on the narrative. So you can go ahead and adopt the resolution.
Okay.
You can read it if you'd like.
I think we've decided that we are going to read it into the record because CVS and the board, we've all put in a lot of hard work since CVS, the applicant, first came before us in April of 2014. And so I'd like all the work that everybody put in hard to be read into the record. Okay. So do I start with just the reasons supporting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm going to go through the reasons supporting this determination. In addition to making in-person presentations to the planning board, the applicant submitted at least 4 written submission packages under covers dated April 25th, 2014, July 3rd, 2014, October 1st, 2014, and December 10th, 2014, which included technical reports, analyses, plans, maps, renderings, applications, supplemental reports, correspondence, and a full environmental assessment form. These documents and presentation materials were reviewed by the planning board and its consultants and were on file with the planning board for public review and inspection. We discussed the impact of the project on transportation. The revised site plan dated December 8th, 2014, will result in a small impact on transportation within the village. The size of the new building is significantly smaller than the existing building, and the proposed use will result in a reduction of overall traffic generation from its prior use as a grocery store. The applicants have forecasted that the site will generate 97 vehicles during the peak afternoon hours and 80 vehicles during the Saturday midday peak. ITE trip generation numbers for a 23,000 square foot supermarket were 158 vehicle trips during the peak afternoon hours and 170 vehicle trips during the Saturday midday peak. The applicant has designed the site with 3 access points, 2 on Route 9 and 1 on Cherry Street. The applicant has proposed to move the existing access point on Route 9 to line up with the Old Post Road intersection. This driveway will be a two-way, full-access drive and have a clean line of sight to Old Post Road, which the existing driveway does not have. Although Cherry Street is in the general business district, it is predominantly residential in nature. The Cherry Street access will be limited to cars, and signage is posted to prohibit trucks from using this access. By letter dated December 5th, 2014, the New York State Department of Transportation indicated that it had reviewed the proposal and anticipates no operational difficulties with the two-way southern entrance on Route 9. The DOT also reviewed the crash history near the site and found it to be very low. The applicant has demonstrated that on-site vehicle circulation is safe and will not result in backups on Route 9. The applicant has proposed to limit the movement of large tractor-trailer delivery trucks exiting out of the northern entrance to southbound turns only, so that these delivery trucks can navigate the site without making any reverse movements on the site across any street to access the site. The project is also designed to allow for a future interconnection with the adjacent shopping center to the north, which would allow for a reduction in trips along Route 9. The proposed location of the interconnection is consistent with the village's illustrative plan of infill development in the northeastern portion of the village. Bicycle racks and electronic vehicle charging stations will encourage the use of alternative modes of transportation. We also looked at the impact on community character. The Village of Red Hook has adopted a pattern book and architectural guidelines as part of its comprehensive plan to guide future development in the village. The pattern book includes guidelines for infill buildings in the general business district. The project has been modified from its original proposal to comply with the recommendations of the pattern book and from Dutchess County Planning and Development comments. The building faces Route 9 and has an entry of Route 9 for a total of 2 building entry points. The location of the new building enhances the street line by bringing the building to the front of the lot without overpowering the nearby Elmendorf Inn. The project also contains a pedestrian plaza with street furniture and plantings. Based on the above, the Planning Board has determined that the project will have a small impact on community character. The Planning Board intends to continue working with the applicant to make modifications to the site plan, the proposed architectural elements, and the lighting plan to further reduce any potential impacts on community character. We also discussed the impact on historic and archaeological resources. The project will have no impact to a small impact on historic resources. The site is located adjacent to the Elmendorf Inn, which is listed on the New York State and National Registers of Historic Places, and is also near the Halfway Diner, which is also listed on the State and National Registers of Historic Places. The Elmendorf is set back from the roadway by approximately 25 feet and is located on a curve, making it visible to cars traveling southbound. The proposed retail building has been sited so that it does not block views of the Elmendorf Inn, and the project will also not have a significant impact on the Halfway Diner. The project site is located within an area considered to be sensitive with regard to archaeological resources, but has been significantly disturbed by prior development. By letter dated June 4th, 2014, the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation has stated that the project will have no impact on cultural resources. We also addressed the impact on the land of construction on the site. There will be small impact on the land from the redevelopment of the site. The proposed action will result in a physical change to the project site. An existing building will be demolished and replaced by a new building. The entrance from Route 9 will be relocated, and a second exit point will be added to the north, and the parking areas will be resurfaced. The total area of disturbance is approximately 2.14 acres, almost all of which has been previously disturbed. Mitigation includes a reduction of 0.22 acres in impervious surfaces from current conditions. Part of this reduction is due to increased landscaping. The code requires that 10% of the parking area be landscaped. The applicant has proposed approximately 16%. All disturbed soils will be protected in accordance with accepted erosion and sediment control practices, in accordance with Phase 2 stormwater regulations and a stormwater pollution prevention plan approved by Mr. Flores, the planning board engineer. Such measures include installation of temporary erosion and sediment control methods prior to the commencement of demolition, and to protect the inlets of the drainage system, minimize the limits of disturbance, and provide for capture of sheet flow sediment through silt fences and other barriers. We also looked at the impact on surface and groundwater quality and quantity, and determined that the project would have no impact on surface and groundwater quality and/or quantity. The proposed development will result in a reduction in surface runoff peak flow from the existing site conditions, partly due to increased impervious surfaces. The applicant will reconstruct portions of the existing stormwater system, which includes catch basins, closed pipes, and a detention pond. The system is designed to completely contain a 25-year storm event and will significantly decrease any overflows from 50 and 100-year events.
You just said increased.
Yeah, it's
I
decreased.
did? I'm sorry. Okay, so let me correct myself. I'm sorry. The existing proposed redevelopment will result in a reduction of surface runoff peak flow from the existing site conditions, partly due to decreased impervious surfaces. The applicant is reconstructing portions of the existing stormwater system, which includes catch basins, closed pipes, and a detention pond. The system is designed to completely contain a 25-year storm event and will significantly decrease any overflows from 50 and 100-year events. Thank you. The planning board has examined all other potential environmental impacts and found no evidence of any potential significant impact, including, without limitation, potential impacts on air quality, agriculture, energy consumption, endangered or threatened species, noise, or wetlands. The proposed action is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan and zoning law. And so we now have a resolution to adopt a determination of non-significance. And given that I've already done a lot of reading, we will cut to, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby adopts the attached notice of determination and non-significance, finding that the project will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft resolution impact statement will not be prepared. Is that right?
Draft environmental.
A draft? What?
Environmental.
Okay. Not enough.
You said something else.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby adopts the attached notice of determination of non-significance, finding that the project will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary is hereby authorized and directed to distribute a copy of this resolution and the determination of non-significance to all involved and interested agencies, the mayor of the Village of Red Hook, the applicant, any person that requests a copy, and to the yes.
It's the environmental notice bulletin.
Okay. And to the environmental notice bulletin for publication. So do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're,
Thank you.
you have a negative declaration.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for your patience.
So Lara, I'm gonna be running around tomorrow, but on Monday, let's follow up on getting this to all the right people, and there's some forms that you can get.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we close the planning board meeting of December 11th, 2014 at 9:45 PM.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for a long evening.
Good night, you all.